Welcome, everyone. This is Season 4, Episode 5 of the Hive. It's DX and I's Fireside Chat tonight. We're going to be looking at how to grow esports tournament from the perspective of a marketer and an esports coach. The Hive is brought to you by Esports College and Careers Pathway, where our mission is to expand access to opportunities and provide a clear path forward for young adults to reach their potential. We focus on diversity, equality, and inclusion. A huge thank you to our sponsors, GameHers, ESTV, and NFL alumni. I'm your host, Sam. This season, we'll be we've filled some hot topics, great guests, even bringing back our game nights. I'm joined by one of my favorite co-hosts. All of them are awesome, but DX is like my father. This is my father.
Hello, kid. What's up?
What have you been up to, DX? I want you to give us the lowdown.
Goody. Happy New Year, everyone. Happy New Year, everyone. Hello, players of gamers. This has been a pretty good year to start. I'm really excited because I started working with another organization. We work with kids that have IDD, intellectual and developmental disabilities, and we introduce them to the world of rock climbing. I am a sport rock climber by casual. This is how I control my blood pressure and diabetes and all that stuff. I'm not like a pro, so don't ask for anything or expect anything. But I got connected with an organization where since there's like rock climbing, you have the support. One of the versions is you have a support rope and a harness. It's very metaphorical. We take these days where it's open specifically sections of the wall with volunteers for kids that have Down syndrome, are on the neurodivergent spectrum, have other developmental disabilities or other ableness. And we allow them to just have that little bit of confidence that they need to learn, that they can potentially learn from rock climbing. And this is like, I consider this the physical side, the physical balance of my esports side, because at the heart of what I love to do is really try to help the kids that were like me, like growing up with like neurodivergence issues and things like that. So now I have something like physical so that we can actually get up out of the chair and do something. And I'm still doing esports work too, in consulting for educational facilities and institutions and stuff. So I'm just really excited to have found like another thing that fulfills my like soul, but in like something else that I like to do. I play esports and I rock climb. That's like me in a nutshell right now. So yeah, that's my new year. How about you? Sam? How about you? How's everything going?
So I just started up with my college, Westcliff. We're doing our first season together.
Mm-hmm.
I'm their head coach for Call of Duty. It's
Nice.
very eye-opening going from professional to kind of collegiate. And I'll say professional very lightly. I was kind of the tier 2 scene, bringing up a lot of players. So this opened my eyes up a lot because I got very jealous of players who got opportunities into college. So now that I'm in college, I'm going, oh my God. Like working with the collegiate, I know why they're into it, but I also see where the red tape is and why there's a lot of like ins and outs of it. And I really support it 100%. Everyone, please, if you are interested in college and you love esports, please go to college first. Make it your priority because esports will come along with it if you're interested. Yeah. And no plug specifically for Westcliff, but we love you guys. So come through.
I think I worked with one of your coaches. The other, oh man, I'm terrible with names.
Neil?
He was,
you met Neil?
Yeah. We met Neil last time. He was great though. Super. We were talking about Pokemons.
Yes. Neil's awesome. Huge shout out to him.
Cool. Yeah. So that's great to hear. Happy to hear that you're starting afresh at Westcliff. So congratulations on that.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I just kind of wanted to roll into this. Our main focus is talking about like how to grow esports tournaments, and I wanted to kind of go backwards because I don't think we've really expanded about who we really are in a while.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to get a little bit more of a background about you, where you come from, where you're kind of going with like the esports and maybe collegiate, even DEI, and you'd even mentioned like rock climbing. Like I know that they were streaming rock climbing like 2 years ago as like a competition on Twitch at one point. So
yeah. No, thanks for asking too, because I was actually thinking about the same thing. We've been doing this for a couple months. It's been great. I honestly look forward to this like once a month. And so I would love to learn more about you and kind of the path. We have like the bullet point. I think someone mentioned like our current knowledge of each other is the equivalent of a GPT like resume. Like we know enough for, I don't know. There's 3 letters at the end of that. I don't pay attention enough. I know it's a thing. Sorry, chat, whatever. AI chatbot. But yeah, about me, I guess, just to kind of tie into what our concept today too, about talking about esports. And why I'm a marketer for esports and how I entered the industry. The reason I'm in the position that I'm at right now was I was able in my marketing career outside of video games, marketing and live events, I was able to come across esports events and live events and esports organizations that needed marketing help or social media setup or all these things because they started popping up in the business sphere. Like I'm a software marketer by trade. Digital marketing is my specialty. Software as a service is my specialty. I work with two very large companies in terms of internet presence. So I just knew my way around that house. And then finally, I started getting these little things. It's like, who is TSM and why do they need these things? Like, or I see early esports marketing stuff. I'm like, oh, this is bad. I'm like, oh, like our industry is so young apparently, but it wasn't my industry yet. I was in like just social media marketing, like just promoting events and stuff. Then eventually I was doing live events for the OC Fair where I met Catherine, and I was a live events guy. I was just making sure live events happen at the OC Fair. It's a big venue, 1.1 million, 210 like people. It was like all right, go to work. This is like real industry stuff. You're gonna learn something here. And we were pros at everything. Weddings and conventions and festivals and things like that. And then an esports tournament rolls up to the OC Fair. And it's not that we didn't know what we were doing, it's that we kind of didn't know what we were doing. It was just a lot of that, like, oh no, we can definitely do this. We're professionals. We're obviously a facility that has high quality internet and everything that you need, but it was an esports event. It was iBuyPower. Shout out to all of my friends from iBuyPower, circa 2016, Tyrone and Kat and Rudy and all you wonderful people, and Jason and Jason and Jason and, and Kevin and Kevin and Kevin and Chris and Chris and Chris. We started one of their IBP Master Series that it fed into IEM Katowice. It was a CSGO tournament. It was the feeder, and it was not a small tournament. Like teams from two teams from China, Taiwan and China, and one team from Europe actually played in that tournament. It was it was a long time coming. We've been producing it for a while. So I was given the opportunity to work a direct esports event from all aspects, from the facility, from the management, to the tournament organization, to the tech. Honey, I can turn around a stadium or a warehouse or any other convention hall faster than anyone else, because I've done this with like 16 hours and 18 hours to turn things into things. And so I had to learn really quick on the fly. And that lit a fire in me like nothing else. I was like, this is real. It's super difficult. Like, there's so many new things. I'm meeting all these amazing people from the esports world. And then I knew that it was an industry that I had the potential to be a part of. I was just going around doing live event marketing, digital marketing. Like, I had felt like I had mastered digital marketing at certain points. So I went to live events and wanted to see that side of things. And because I wanted to grow. I was in my early 30s. What else am I going to do? So I got that. I got a taste of paradise. I like that event. I've met some of the most amazing people, like, that I'm still friends with today. People that like have started nonprofits with Rise Above the Disorder, things like that. It opened up something in me that said, this is real, and I have the ability to take my skill set, which I'm actively honing, which I'm already doing, like this, and now I can start pivoting it into esports. So I started putting myself out there. I started saying, I can do this. I can organize your events. I was already going to events and doing a lot of league stuff. And then like just since 2016, I've just been one of those voices that I feel like there's plenty of people on the Orange OCDE and like other departments of education, whether it's Inland Empire or like San Diego, they've heard my voice. Win, lose, or draw, good, bad, or ugly. They've heard my voice. I've talked about many things about esports since then, and that's kind of been my stake in it. Like, I'm a marketer by trade, and I attach myself to organizations that have the ability to hopefully participate positively in the esports ecosystem. And that's why I've helped nonprofits. That's why I've helped software as a service companies. That's why I've helped media companies, and I've worked for these people to bring that level of me to things. And it's because I've been around for a while that I'm realizing, oh my gosh, like I'm only like 6 years into this, and I'm already a vet. Like I'm a super vet. I'm like, wow, that's okay. It's good. It's good, but it also goes very fast and makes me feel old. So
You're not old at all.
yeah, I know
I think
I'm not.
you're
I feel old though sometimes, just a little bit. But yeah, so that was
sports
kind of
industry.
what happened with the marketing side. I was doing my own things, like swimming in my lane, but luckily where I was swimming had access points, and one of those places that I had access to was the esports industry as it was coming up, and I made sure I stuck around. I made sure that I participated. I wasn't going to let anyone not give me a job. I wasn't going to let anyone tell me that I wasn't a part of this organization or this industry because I wasn't working for one of the big teams. Oh my god, sorry. Immediately when this started getting real hot, if you were working for a team, you were a professional. You were best in class. I'm like, yes, there are some people that started and began in those organizations that are some of the finest quality professionals in this industry, and there's a lot of not, and there's a lot of people that just needed a job and and got one because a friend gave them one. That's also real. So I'm just sitting here at the fair doing my business in public sector, and I'm just like, this is fine. I'm just watching it happen. But as I've watched it grow from that distance, that's why I wanted to stay a part of it. And I've stayed a part of it in the ways that I can. I don't do much anything else other than like the marketing and event planning side. But luckily that's a lot of it. That's a lot of it. I'm not as facile with you with the coaching and understanding those mechanics and working with the students and teams. I can do what I can. I'm nice. I'm nice to youth because I still youth minded. I guess it's so simple. I don't know, but that's one of those things. Is like I know how I fit into this ecosystem, and I'm just gonna continue to be here and be a voice and work with people and those things because if we don't forget if the old farts don't stay around to stay around, and if like we all just go we're over esports and no one's here to speak enthusiastically about it with history, then that's a bad time. Then it just becomes only what's new and what's hot, and that's not what esports was built on. Esports was built by continuing generations of people that love competitive gaming, and that love was never going to go away. So how could we turn that love and passion into education and careers? It's as simple as that, and it's never been anything else for me. So if I get to be a part of that, we're good. So that's me. That's my nutshell, Sam.
That's awesome. Really, it was like a GTP or whatever it's called. Where I got when we first met, it was just like here's the line by line and make sure that we're all on here. Same
Yeah.
thing when I first came on. I got a line by line, and I have a much different history where I started, where I went. But I think it's so much more important to know the non-front facing aspect of esports where you've been, and I think that there needs to be more front facing people that are there needs to be more visibility. I think that's the best way to say
Mm.
it. It's such a difficult space. There's hundreds of coaches that go in and out of the esports sector that just get unnoticed or overly noticed or are famous because they're just like cool. Like they just are the cool thing, but they're just
Mm-hmm.
don't win. And then they just get picked up by team, and then they get dropped by team. They get picked up by
Mm.
another roster. They get dropped by a roster. Um, so to just not to get too salty about it, but my history for myself, I started off as a player. I hope I don't get flagged for any words. A game called Dirty Bomb way back when. It
Mm.
kind of was like off of the Team Fortress 2 like aspect. It was mostly an FPS with healing, and I just had randomly dropped into playing it into the beta and alpha, or alpha and then beta, and we had gotten a team together just because they had done scrims and I just had gotten to know the guys. It was awesome. We were supposed to get signed by an esports roster. We were temporarily signed. From there, for about 4 months, we scrimmed against teams that were going to get picked up by
Oh
Cloud9,
wow.
TSM, CLG, Splice back when Splice was the thing.
Mm.
Uh, but the game had fallen apart because the developer had sold off to another company, literally a chicken company. They
No.
sold chicken. Yeah. I joke about this, but all the older people don't quite understand. They're like, why is there a chicken company? And I have to say the same thing. Why a chicken company? Um, but they, as a result, within 2 weeks of when our tournaments were supposed to start, all the teams kind of went. So all the big
Oh.
money that was going to come from sponsors are kind of getting scared because they don't know. So all these potential sponsors were dropping, and teams kind of went, or organizations kind of went, hey, this is not looking too hot. If you guys want to continue to play underneath your own banner, you're more than welcome to. If things turn out to be better, great. 2 weeks passed by and nothing had happened. No tournaments announced, and they went, yeah, so we're not going in at all. So I got it. I think I mentioned him a couple times. I won't say it again for just safety for everyone. My organization loved them. They did a great job. We separated. There was no big announcement. There was no big cancellation. We just went our own ways. They were awesome. They may still exist. Good on to them. But from there, my coach had said, hey, he's an ex-military guy. Hey, Sam, you're not it. You're not going to be a player. You're not going to like lead a roster. You're not mechanically good. You're a healer and you know how to IGL. Go become a coach. So I did that with Overwatch, and I coached for 4 years until about 2020. I brought up players from Open Division, which was basically just the availability to just compete against the best in Open Division, into Contenders, where I made a couple of players. I won't say made them. I helped build them up to the point where they could compete, and then from there, some of those Contender players that I worked with went on to the professional leagues. And to give some reference, which will help kind of build this back out, Open Division was open for all teams to play that were not associated with the Pro Overwatch League team.
Okay.
Meaning Pro Overwatch could not create a team to go into Open Division, but there was no pathway into Professional Overwatch League. You had to buy a spot for $20 million, and it was a walled garden. But you could go into Contenders, which they could then purchase a team. If Overwatch League teams wanted to purchase one, they could. Some of them fielded teams on behalf of it because they got a free spot because they paid 20 mil. But that was a whole mess. So I decided in 2020 to step aside after my organization. Now, I love them to death, but it just was clear that they were not going to continue to pay and support. And I stepped aside and I went into education, where I worked with SDSU, UCSD, USD. I'm working with Native American tribes to build up their esports.
Wow, that's great.
I'm really excited. They're starting programs here, and I'm now coaching Westcliff, which is awesome. Go Warriors! And they did awesome this weekend. I want to congratulate them. They had a rough time, but they're going to get through it. So that's my whole history. It's just focusing in building up players as a whole from the ground up.
Can I jump in? I have a question, actually.
Yeah, go, shoot.
Yeah. Okay, so hearing you talk, you're obviously good at least one video game, and people are looking at me and who's this guy? I bet people are going like, who is this guy? Why does he think he's in esports? Okay. So I'm gonna ask you, what do you think your best title was, competitive play, like in gaming, where you felt that you could flex your skill set? And you know, I mean, obviously, like we can't prove anything. Maybe, who knows, we play in the future or something. But I will share with you mine if you
We're
go.
talking about in game. We're talking about in game, not coaching.
Yeah, in game. Like, what do you
in game?
when you've been
My
playing?
God.
Like, what is the thing where you go like, I'll play this one. I'm not afraid of this. What is it?
If I can get my reps back in Rainbow Six. I know the boys at Call of Duty kind of want me to try. We'll see how well that goes. I don't know. What about you?
For me, my strongest game that I was ever, it's not even League of Legends, which I feel like I actually am mechanically superior to most in terms of, I have no meta game, but my best game, which I have kind of a proven record, is I was one of the top 100 players in Final Fantasy 14 PvP. I know, but also now people are gonna cringe. People are gonna be like,
no,
Final Fantasy 14. Yeah, you know what? I don't care.
This is never getting out, by the way, because if you told my friends this, they're gonna be like, "Oh, Sam's joining us in Final Fantasy now."
Yeah,
there's at least 5 of them. Then been like, "Oh, we love Final Fantasy. We're gonna help you now."
I found
you created a hole for me. Thank you.
Yeah, that's what we kind of do, actually. Final Fantasy 14 people are always trying to wingman for each other to get other people's friends to play, because there are many of us who have been here for patch 2.0 for me, which is like literally 10 years ago. But that is the game that I didn't realize. Like their PvP modes have always been up my alley. Like I just maybe also the player base is also RPG players. Let's also be honest, the player base is mostly RPG players. So I was able to express myself. But the top 100 in the world though, that's at a certain percentage, we're all a certain level of good, right? Like it's all just kind of how we're playing that day. But that's like my best. Like when I'm at my finest, when I want to show people how good I am at something, let's go frontline. That's fine. I can win a 24 on 24 on 24 match. I can do it by myself. That's one of those things where I just feel like unnecessarily confident. Like no, but like yeah, that's that. I just felt like saying that like, oh no, now people have context that I think Final Fantasy 14 PvP is esports. It's not, but it could be.
It could be.
No, I know it is. Actually, no, it absolutely is. It just doesn't fit in the world because it doesn't have that same level of production and things. And that's an interesting conversation for another time though too, actually.
Well, no, that's actually perfect because that leads me into this is in general. What would be the perfect tournament format for you? And there we go. Like choose your favorite game. What would be the perfect tournament format?
Oh, easy. No, this is actually thank you. Good segue because Final Fantasy 14 is my favorite game. I'm a JRPG guy first. That's how I was introduced and fell in love with the world of gaming. The fact that I play a version of a JRPG that has all these other game formats in it, and one of them is PvP, player versus player combat, and there's multiple forms of PvP in Final Fantasy 14. There's one big crazy lot of people format, and then there's a small 5-on-5 format, which is new, called Crystalline Conflict, but there's always been PvP formats. So for me, looking at the community of Final Fantasy 14 and saying, if we were going to host an open tournament where one of the more competitive elements of the game is emphasized, because there is rating and there's spicy world first rating drama in Final Fantasy 14, so there's like that side of things, but that's not esports. That's you're playing against the computers. That's speed running, and that's also another good conversation for the future. Is like, is speed running an esport? Yes and no. But for the actual clearly defined PvP / esport mechanic, which would make sense in this case, like a 5v5 Crystalline Conflict, or if we would really do it, the perfect format would be a highly publicized, more social than it is skill based, like a big PvP battle between a combination of content creators and people known in the communities, where we do this one format called Frontline. And Frontline, it is 24 on 24 on 24. Yeah, it's a 3v3. It's a triangle PvP format with 3 raid groups of 8. So there's 24, 24, 24. Oh, it's a mess, girl. The first time I started playing this mode, I thought, I was like, what is this popcorn? It's all just flashes of like JRPG effects and like noises, and I didn't know what was going on. But eventually I figured it out. So I think that format would be perfect for Final Fantasy 14, because Final Fantasy 14 viewers and the community members do not care about the explicit mechanical skill it takes to take your crystal to the other side when it comes to Crystalline Conflict. That 5v5 format, very MOBA-esque, but using top-down isometric MMORPG controls. It's definitely super esportsy. Like, it is an esport 100%. There's camera angles and there's plays to be made. There's mechanics, but that's not the perfect format for the Final Fantasy 4 community, because that's like, you're the kind of people that yell sports. Like, I'm sorry, that's just true. It's like, yay. Like, and I'm not even non-competitive. I actually love sports, but we're a community where most of the people do single player dungeons and glam. Like, some of us literally just make clothes for our characters all the time. But the other side is the social aspect. There's a lot of social. So if there was a PvP format esports tournament that said, we're going to do an esports tournament or Final Fantasy 14. We're going to bring the genres. We're going to bring MMORPGs and esports colliding. The introduction, I think, would be, let's do a PvP format. On this team are 24 of the top PvPers. Or so 8 on each side. A raid group of top 8 PvPers. top 8 content creators from a certain server clusters, and then 8 people that just wanted to join. Like we do a lottery and we say, I'm just happy to be here, because I honestly believe that I'm just happy to be here. You're probably gonna get the best PvP players, because the most quiet people in Final Fantasy 14 are the most mechanically skilled. They don't waste their time talking in chat. They just play. So I think something like that, where you first read your audience and say, what is our audience and who actually is going to not only play, participate, and view. You go, okay, now what mechanics do we have to play with? Like, we can choose within this confines of this game. It's like game modes. There's like, League of Legends had different game modes. Like there's Summoner's Rift and ARAM and Earth and all those other things. And other like whether and other FPSs have, everything has game modes. So we would choose the right modality for the right environment and community. And then we go, what do we want to get out of this from everyone? Not like who's not, it should never be, so who's gonna win? Who's gonna win only matters if people care who's gonna win. Like if we say officially representing in-game guild faction, the males red, yellow, and blue, so represented by all these people, and I tweeted that out across all of my networks, and I got 24 PvPers, 24 content creators, and 24 viewer submissions that you get to join. The community would rally behind that, because the PvPers would start fighting for the top position to get in the tournament. Content creators would start creating more content, so that they'll be like, I want to be chosen for this. And then those of us that just want to be in the room, we'll keep playing, we'll support, we'll get the orange slices, and I'll put my lot in there. I'll absolutely, who knows, it could be me. And I think that by looking at that, seeing what do we have, who do we want to participate, what are we going to get, a big fiesta of ridiculousness, and knowing that this format of PvP is not specifically pure mechanical skill. We're not watching it for that. We're watching it for these big group plays and standout moments and stories and praying to RNGesus for the right node spawns. Like, that is what we build for the community, because everyone's going to get into it. Everyone has a lane into it. And I think one of the things that esports is not doing well is maintaining flexibility. It's like, oh, we have to play this format for this because we need to get these viewers and do this thing. And that is so good for structure and creating what to expect, but there isn't enough fun. I think a lot of these formats is like, what I love on the league stuff is when they play all the stupid matches, fire versus ice, or we're playing all off meta picks, and someone locks in Teemo in League of Legends, and it's a meme. Of course, it's a meme, right? But that reminds people that the game. Oh yeah, guys, the game was fun. Like before esports, the game is super fun. Like that's how I think about things from like the whole perspective, and that's how I bring it into creating something ideal for my community. My community is Final Fantasy 14. My server community is the one that was in the news for the billboards in Texas. That's my home server. That's not even like on my cluster. That's like my neighbors and my friends. So I can tell you all about that. But I know that, and I know what we like. And if I were to create a perfect format where I could introduce esports to more adjacent communities like the MMO scene and things like that, that's how I would do it. And I would start with fun, and it would take all the mechanics that are necessary for a successful esports production, and I would just make it more fun. Like, because it's been a while and I haven't produced a tournament that was just for fun. Like, I had to produce tournaments for organizations that needed tournaments done. If I were just to do something fun, oh yeah, this is like unnecessarily jostling my brain and trying to make something happen, because that sounds awesome. I would 100% organize that PvP tournament, a 24 on 24 on 24 for just the Final Fantasy community. I wouldn't, because it also is going to take way too much time. I can't do it, but my heart project planner says yes. My brain project planner says I'm on fire right now. So the answer is no. Okay, that was me. Sorry, I took so long, but yeah.
No, and this is the thing. We're so passionate about this stuff, and I'll say it this way: like these series are so important to look into a window into someone's life, and I don't think we get enough time to talk Both of us have been guests, and now we've kind of become co-hosts into this show.
Yeah.
So it's exciting to see. If we were to talk to some of our former guests, I think we'd get some of these deeper conversations and
Yeah.
like
I think so too.
the meat of the situation. And I think for me, I've had such a problem, and I want to get funding for you. I want to figure out how to get funding and spend give you a month's period of time for me to be able to do that, because I have so many passion projects that I'd love to
Yeah.
do.
I
I
feel that.
genuinely I don't like to use the word hate because it has so much like deep connotation with just anger. I
Mhm.
truly disliked the way Overwatch handled their open division, how they handled their
Mm.
contenders division. I genuinely did not like the closed off $20 million buy-in to be a professional esports team.
Yeah.
That was gross negligence to just create a wall garden for just the rich.
It's a lot quick.
And
It was a real lot, real quick.
yeah, and the thing is that in esports, and this is some dirty little secret that everyone talks about, it's who you know most of the time in esports.
It's true.
Sorry, like you work hard and you get
It's
noticed,
true.
people will notice you and you'll become friends with them. And that's the thing, is you'll become friends and then they'll find you spots and work with you. That being
That's just the
said, and
way things
still work.
go.
Yeah, please work hard. And that's where I kind of lead into like Overwatch. I'd love to see Overwatch come back. I want an open division. I want a tournament format outside of OWL when they're in their
Mhm.
off season, where they take all the open division teams, all the contender teams, and maybe some like they break up the owl teams and they let them just choose their own rosters, and you have a true version of what they did back in Call of Duty, where you had Splice, you had all these old teams that just dominated. I can't even name all of them. Splice is on my brain right now, but um, you had all these big rosters that would come in, and sometimes they would just pub stomp teams, and you'd always see
No.
the ELGs, the EGs, you'd see Cloud9, you'd always see them up there, but then sometimes you'd see some random team like the Wolves from Wichita. I know there's a team now, Wichita Wolves, but you see these
Yeah.
random teams out of nowhere, and you're like, why are they on stage with Optic? Why are they on stage with FaZe Clan? And then they'd get
Mhm.
2 or 3 maps off of them. They may not win, but you go, wow, those are
Yeah.
good players. And then
Those are the great
somehow,
moments.
yeah, and then somehow, Cloud9 will get dropped into the bottom of the bottom tier, maybe even get eliminated before qualifiers. And then for some reason, the Wolves team gets picked apart and given to pro teams because that's just how it works. That was a genuine fight for the competition. That was the love of the game. People wanted to play. There was no restriction. There wasn't this idea that money controlled a lot of the esports. I'm starting to sound like a crazy person, Charlie, with this pointing out the chart from Always Sunny Philadelphia.
It's
But
called growing
really,
up a little. It's called
yeah,
oh, I see behind the curtain just a little.
yeah. But I want a better tournament format where pros play with potential people. And I've noticed this with my Call of Duty team that I've been coaching. They have nightly eights, where you get sometimes paired into, or game battles. Um,
Mhm.
you get paired into pros because they're playing for that night, and it's awesome
Yeah.
to see those communities join together, where you just queue into a random pro who may go like, "Wow, you're actually kind of good," and they keep track of you and they see what the stats are and they see, "Wow, like maybe you're kind of worth looking at for a little bit." Um, but I guess this will lead into like, I didn't give a full answer because I don't have a perfect tournament format. I just want
Mm.
people to come back and I want them to be fun. I want it to be exciting.
Yeah,
I also want
fun.
big money, but I would need
Yeah.
it to be small feeling again.
You know what?
But
Like when you're talking, one of the things that is coming to my mind is being reminded of is like that thing that I mentioned about inflexibility. Like and that so much of what is being created in the esports competitive scenes, whether what all across there, we're following these models that are the ones we know, and it's just totally fair. We're following FIFA, NFL, NBA, MLB. We're following those models, feeding it into a system that looks, breathes, acts, and produces revenue similarly to those teams. And I think that's where we are failing. We are trying to be something else. The competitive aspect of gaming and esports is never going to disappear. It will not shrink. It will not implode on itself. Even when all and I also want to remind people, everything you see out there is frosting and sprinkles and edible gold leaf. strip it all away, we're still here. There are people who are going to be at Evo when no one buys tickets. There are going to be people playing Smash, and there are going to be people playing Mortal Kombat. There are going to be people playing League that are still grinding. We're still going to be here. It's not about all the other stuff. So I'm not afraid to lose all the if we need to shed this frosting that we've put upon ourselves, like the burden of frosting because it's so expensive, like this frosting is so much money and everyone's trying to keep their frosting on. But I think we sold ourselves to old and obsolete gods. I think we sold ourselves to systems and mechanics of how to do this entire thing that are reasonable to emulate, that make a lot of sense, but also lack creativity and a certain amount of joie de vivre. I'm just going to be very honest. People are trying to replicate what they think can make money, but also, let me be honest again. It's not working. It's not working. A lot of the money floating around in esports is fake. So when certain things collapse, other things can't be supported. So I'm not afraid to lose any of that stuff. And I do have a market investment in multiple games. My personal, professional reputation, plus my life. I have $3,000 worth of League of Legends skins. As my friend sent me how much money I spent as a joke to make me feel bad about myself. Like that was
same.
Yeah. It's like I've been playing since 10, so like I'm not quick to just discard my skin purchases. There's a reason I have every Fiddlesticks skin. I like Fiddlesticks. I would like Fiddlesticks. I'm sorry, that's a DX character. But that's the thing. Is like I'm not afraid to discard these things, and like it needs to come back to fun and doing things that are flexible and following a different modality. And one thing that esports can do that traditional sports has a much more difficult time doing is integrating their professional play with their non-professional players. You mentioned like on those scrims and stuff, like on 8, like I've in League of Legends I've ran into top tier players when I was climbing the ladder. When I was grinding diamond up, especially in the beginning, you run into a lot of people. I'm not a challenger or master tier player. No, I'm like plat diamond. Sure, that's like I'm nat plat. I'm a nat plat. That's what I'll test in, and if I really wanted to try, I could potentially work. But that's it. But like what you're saying is like having days where the joy of potentially running into your rival, your hero, and dropping a kill, taking a point, and something that doesn't exist in other sports. That unless it's like a super rare moment that you're on the pitch with like someone that you've like playing. Come on, like that yes, that's a dream, but you have to like organize those things to happen.
Yeah, and what's cool about our context in esports too is we have so many interesting content creators. I've ran into like 5 of my favorite content creators randomly, from Siege to League to
Mm-hmm.
Overwatch. I've just randomly queued into them, and I remember one time I'm like, oh my god, wait, I think I know this guy. And
Yeah.
like one of my friends, because we were queued together, they're like, hey, you should say something. You're pretty funny. I'm like, I'm not that funny. He's like, you're funny because you're not funny. You clown yourself. And I started doing it, and he is. I found out later he was streaming it, and I'm like, oh no, like, and he sent me my friend sent me the clip, and I was one of those guys like, I'm gonna add him after, see if I can get it. And
Yeah,
he sent me
whatever, man.
yeah, he added me back. I'm like, oh my god, this is
Be
so awesome.
you. This is you
Yeah,
guys are famous. If I've played with someone on a game and I like them, I'm gonna smash that ad, Fred. Because let me be honest too, is you don't really get a lot of games where you find someone you like. So anyone even close, I'll smash that ad.
yeah, and that's the cool thing about esports too that traditional sports doesn't have. They don't have the same content creators that are connected to the sport that then are
Yeah.
connected to the professional league. We are so unique in the fact that we have so many cool content creators that are
Yeah.
associated with it, that are building this out, making it so much more cool, that
Mm-hmm.
are kind of like, they can strip it down. They can go, yeah, so XYZ developer sucks, but the game is awesome. So make your decision. I'm going to be playing it for this long for this reason, but you do it for your own reason. Um, but it really, I think it comes down to what I think is what esports used to be, which was events. We used to have MLG Anaheim. We used to have
Yeah.
MLG San Diego, my hometown. We used to have
Yeah.
DreamHack, that was the test bed for all the pro gamers, because
Mm.
that's where you got invites. MLG, you could get
Yeah.
invites too, but there was open divisions. DreamHack is where you tested the metal of teams where you went in and you knew that the team A that qualified from DreamHack or from MLG really beat those teams in MLG, and they're getting invited for a reason for DreamHack. Now it's
Yeah.
just very like, cool, DreamHack's here, 120,000 fans in the stadium. That's awesome. And who's playing? Oh, it's the same 12 esports organizations that have picked apart other esports teams because they'll never actually be able to be on stage because they never paid the $50,000 buy-in.
Oof. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, that's a thing. It's to everyone out there. There are buy-ins. If you weren't aware, because you qualify, it doesn't mean you get a free in. That means that you have an opportunity to buy into your spot for the next tournament.
You get to pay.
So,
Yep, I know that one. So I know certain
Yeah.
seats get access, immediate access in, but I think it's usually like only the top two or something of an 8.
top 2, and then even that they don't pay for expenses. They've
Yeah.
changed that a lot, and that's difficult. Even if teams qualify in top 1 or 2, they have to pay for airplanes, they have to pay for food, they have to pay for hotel.
Logistics. That's the stuff that messes up a lot of people.
But we have important people in the background to do that too. Esports has filled with awesome people that I've met that do that type of stuff.
I'm one of those people.
That's DX. Everyone that
Yeah,
needs anything,
I'm on that side of things. You see, Sam is on the side with the people on the stage and the thing. I'm like making sure that you're in Slack saying, "Excuse me, do you have an event? Do you have the event day list schedule?" Like I'm that guy. I'm the guy in Slack that's making sure everyone's on point with our bullet points and deliverables for the day.
So I'm looking at all our questions. It's funny, we kind of throughout our other responses we've been answering all these questions, but I think one that I wanted to ask you specifically because I don't think I've asked you this yet. Do you think we can get colleges to integrate similar to the way we handle NFL, NBA, where we have a collegiate system? Like you can get scouted out of high school, which is kind of the way esports works now. But can we do it similar to the NBA or NFL where you have to spend a year? Then I believe the NBA requires 1 year. If you're in school, you're required to play 1 year of collegiate sports. That's required. You can't be pulled out of the collegiate system except for 1 year. And that's because of everyone aware, marketing teams buy these players for education and they want their money's worth.
Yeah.
That's the end of the story. But can we do something similar in esports?
I think that is a really good discussion center to nucleate some concepts around. The first concept I want to address with that is I think the only reason that level of oversight was needed in the university space was due to the predatory practices of professional teams. So like that's the predatory practices. They're scooping them up this early because they know that they can identify them this early, and that's not bad. I mean, so predatory practices of poaching people away from education to get them to the organization, that's bad. But I think if there is some sort of artificial rule that is in place, I think that is an admonition that it exists, and it's saying we're only going to rely on the fact that this rule exists to enforce it, and then it becomes a scapegoat for creating a culture that says unacceptable. This is not how we do things in our community. In our community, we get educated, and then when the pathway opens up, if we can play pro, then we play pro. I think there is an opportunity for esports in the collegiate space for us as a culture, as the people who are at the vanguard and people who are existing now and people who are building it up and joining into it. We have to create a culture that says this is our culture. Esports college and career pathways is and I'm going to make my very foot in the ground, I'll die on this hill statement, but the whole reason that I even advocate for esports as a means, as a excellent use of our passions, is because it creates careers and it can give us careers and education. That's the whole point. It's not about the money. The money can come from all sorts of other things. The money comes if you have a career that is valuable. The money comes if you have an education that prepares you to get jobs and live and operate in the world. If we're putting, everyone wants the carrot, but no one knows what's the process of why a horse even wants a carrot, what it takes to feed a horse to get a carrot. They're like, oh, it's a carrot, let me get the carrot. People need to, I think people need to have a much clearer idea of like why esports in this scale even exists. Right now, physical sports, they exist because they're monolithic entities that are ingrained in our society. But none of those professional leagues, like those could all go away and people will still play the sports. People are always going to play the sports because they love them, and because people play these sports and they love them, an entire community is supporting this massive multi-billion dollar industry, right? We have to remember, like, we never needed the multi-billion dollar industry, guys. We didn't need them. We did this without all of that. We're still here because none of that stuff mattered. We're still here because we actually do this. So this side of the work is the most important. So in terms of scouting, I think we should just turn that entire concept into its on its head. We should absolutely have universities that are able to scout and look and provide scholarships for teams for a certain amount of mandatory play, but they should not just be players. They should look for the finest project managers and the finest marketing interns, and the finest financial projection and the finest technology developers, application developers, hardware people. Why do we think the only people in esports that are worth the money and investing are the people who are playing the games? I can let you know that there are plenty of other people who have built a lot of software platforms that are not the players, and we're just on the other side of things. If we go into this and we start thinking maybe we can provide esports scholarships and career opportunities to more than just players, stop just making it all about the players. They are the star. They are absolutely the superstars of our sport. They're the ones in front of things. Yes, but it's not about just them. There's all of us. There's everyone should be a part of this. We should be. I can imagine the best scouting program in the United States will belong to the school that provides the best scholarships and the best career pathways to people that go into esports production teams and start getting picked up by every studio, get started picked up by every development company. Do you want to turn your school into the hotbed of what it is to have an esports program? Don't produce top tier esports players alone. Produce top tier esports producers, content creators, and people that have a skill set to make sure that this is going to keep going. Because right now, everyone's treating this like it's the NBA, and honey, it's not. It's not even nearly as interesting, and people are not that as attractive. I'm sorry. It's just the truth. We have lovely personalities. Thank you. Like, and I think that's what we should start going. Like, we're a different thing. We're just a different thing. And if it takes me yelling into the void over and over again, I'll do it. It's fine. I'm used to this. I've given this PowerPoint presentation for the last 7 years of my life. So why not? Let's just add a couple slides. All right. Sorry. Slash rant
No,
off.
no, you're good. I think that it's important because again, I don't know that we have an opportunity here to just even one sound bit that goes off. I mean, it's so interesting, the esports scape. Right now, I think it's unique in the fact that there's someone called Jake Lucky. He literally is a sounding board for the esports sector of any, like, the general populace.
Mhm.
Anything that just pops off on his Twitter can go viral, and I think that's so important to notice that personalities and the way we're developing esports now is that direction where we're building it out. People are getting noticed. Like, there are plenty of universities right now. Well, not plenty. Redact that statement. Retract that statement. There are several universities working on creating production. Most of them are like career schools that aren't very well respected outside of what they do, but they are really good at what they do. I'm not going to name them because I don't want any hot water, but they're fantastic. Go check them out. They are great for industry work.
Mhm.
Um, that being said, like I'll put my, like, not Westcliff, but my local college, SDSU and UCSD. They don't do anything on the way of production, in the way of esports. They don't care. They have no, and I'll be very straight with that. Like, I worked with them for a bit, and they had very little interest in pushing the narrative that we can do better and bigger.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I don't know if that will get me in hot water, but I don't care at that point because they've showed that they don't particularly care. in certain
People
ways.
are their actions, right? If you put your stuff and information out there and people aren't saying no to it, then that's just how it is. And it's also not uncommon that people are not ready to pick up esports things like that. Just like the most common thing, like currently, it's the outlier. There's more and more outliers, obviously, but that
And it's
makes sense.
expensive to get into it too. It's
Yeah,
so dang expensive. Like to build an esports facility, unless you're getting sponsored and you're now indentured to them. Like
yeah,
that's the one thing I don't like.
it's very
Sorry
expensive.
sponsors.
Yeah,
Sorry sponsors. I love sponsors that work with us. I love people
yeah,
that really try and like push the initiative. But when you're literally having to keep that on for at least 20 years,
yeah,
like 10 years, whatever the limit is, I'm sorry, no one cares in 10 years what's going on with it. Like if you're doing the right thing, then fantastic. But there's so much upheaval that happens in esports every 2 months that I don't
Mhm.
know if you can keep your name on the board. Like you don't know what could happen with those companies. So I think it's really dangerous that like you get into that sort of narrative and meta to be like, oh well, we have an excellent esports school because we have a lab, we have all these things, and it's like, okay, what did you do with it? Did you bring in really good players? Did you scout really good players? Did you coach them? You could bring in great players, but then don't do anything with them.
Yeah, that's very normal.
And then from there, like it's awesome that you got those great players. What did you do to do marketing them? What did you do with statistics?
Mm.
Did you bring in an analyst? Did you do this thing? No, 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 no. All
Oh
no is
yeah,
across the board.
no one
So
marks their teams well. They put a social media post that says we have someone who's really good, and that's like it.
can I just shout out someone who we had last time with Drexel University? They are
Mhm.
now like ranked 1 or 2 on the esports like university chart. They do this cool little chart of like interactions, and Drexel
Uh-huh.
is up there now. Huge shout out to Drexel. They're awesome. They did an awesome job. NJIT I think is also they've been on here. I think I did an interview with them. They also
Mhm.
got ranked at some point like number 3 or number 4. I'm sorry if I'm getting the numbers wrong, but I saw them on the charts. But they're doing the right thing by producing this really cool like talent pool. Like there's people behind the scenes doing that hard work. I know that there's marketing degree people and behind that. I know there's data analysts looking into everything. I know that there's esports players that are doing their best to win. We know win, loss, draw.
Mhm.
They're still playing and getting that content for people to work around.
Yeah.
That's the love of the game is you know that there's so many other people uplifting that. It's not esports. There's a reason why you're spending 150 plus $1,000 on that room. It's not for the players or just the players. It's the cost of the computer goes for all the content creators that can be on there. It's all the editors that are going to be on there.
Yep.
Like maybe you should just take the small L and not take the crazy sponsorship deals and just pay for it on your own because you have big programs in football and basketball. You can help pay that off. It's not that big of a deal with a small room. In the long run, it really is that. Like creating those systems and integrating everyone together is super important. And having cool little competitions like MLG, where school hosts the state competition. Hey,
Yeah.
we're actually we got approved to go up to Oregon, so we're going to be going up to Oregon, and they're going to be hosting a bunch of college teams for Call of Duty. That's going to be awesome for the weekend.
Yeah.
So that'd be
Stuff like that's
awesome. Let's do
huge.
more of those. Like, and there's going to be content out of that. People are going to make videos. I'm hoping. I'm not 100% sure, not on the record. Um, we may get content creator or a video editor to join the school. That'd be awesome if we can get them scholarships for that. Like that would be some cool stuff to be able to get them going on it. So that's the future I think I see for us.
Oh yeah, there's so much opportunity when it comes to integrating like the front of the house, the back of the house, and looking at all this as a whole. And I think for me, like a lot of what we've talked about so much in this episode was for me trying to, I guess, there's a new year, and for me, like it's like I want to try to just remind people to take a different perspective. Like we can, and I know it's hard. I know once you're being funded by a source, you don't just throw it away. Like let's be honest. Let's be real. But if we ever lose that sense of I don't know, righteous rebellion. Oh, that sounds dangerous. That sounds dangerous. Is what it sounds. If we lose that completely, then we're just going to sit here and be told by people that we have assumed know more than us that this is how things work. Whereas in this community and anyone that's watching like us and our discussion that's in our communities, from all the games that we've played to the organizations that we've touched and been a part of, like it's a reminder for us is like we have these conversations because we're still here. We have these conversations because this thing matters to us. We have these conversations because we I think we owe it to our future selves and a little bit to our past selves to try to, if we're still here and we're actually we've made a choice to do something, then hopefully I can give people perspective. Like, it doesn't have to be done a certain way. And that's why when I'm always like, do I need to, like, when I need to jump into somewhere? Because I'm not afraid. Because I'm not afraid that anyone's gonna try to swing their big old reputation around me. Girl, do you know how many people have tried to swing their reputation around me? I'm like, oh, I know who you are. I'm not saying that I don't know who you are. You're not impressive to me. You come in here with a couple $1,000,000 and you own a team, but that's it. Like, that's the kind of stuff that I am immune to because I'm jaded and I've worked for the government multiple times and I'm a 10-year Final Fantasy 14 player. So honestly, you can't shake me. I'm just here. Like, I'm just here now. So get used to it, everyone.
I just wanted to end on a high note, I guess,
Yeah.
because we're getting towards the end here, and I know Nick is like gonna. Yeah, there he is.
Yeah.
I knew I needed to check Discord. Okay,
Yeah.
what is the one thing you think you'd want to end on? What is something for the next between now and next month? Because I think we have another show next month. What is something you want to look forward to? Something you want to like? What's going on? What
I'm gonna
do you
look. I
want to
want to
see?
look for the light. I want to look for what's doing well in the organizations that are passionate about it. Because from my side of things look dire because I'm from the money side. It never looks positive and uplifting. So I think for me, it's trying to take this year to focus on oops on
My camera died. Sorry, that
oh
is
sorry, so
me.
I thought it was
My
anything.
camera died. We're good.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, like I just think I'm gonna try to find the light, try to find what's working, and I'm gonna try to use that to keep me inspired on the things that we're putting together for like the remainder of the year though too as well. So
So I guess for me, let me go ahead and turn off my camera.
you're too hot, Sam. Oh
It
no, you
legitimately
overheated your
overheated.
camera. Ooh.
Sorry, everyone.
That's all right.
But I I want to focus in on just supporting the collegiate scene as much as possible and becoming that
Yeah.
light and becoming that person that people can rely on because I think that the scene has gotten down to the point, collegiate at least, has gotten to the point where it's very um pick me. I think that's the
Mm,
best way to say it. Like, oh my gosh, I'm so cool. I'm so awesome. Like my program has been awesome. Uh, kowtow to me. Like I've been really good
mm,
and support me. And it's like, okay, I understand. I love you. I appreciate you, but understand that there are a lot of programs going on right now that need the support. I don't. At the end of the day, that $10,000 would be awesome for the school, for the students, but we're here for the students. They're collegiate. They're college athletes. Number one thing in that sentence is college. Number
yeah.
two is they're athletes. I'm not going to work my athletes to the bone where they're not able to study, they're not able to think, they're not able to breathe because because the thought is that they need to be an athlete first.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, that's my goal is to create a better balance in understanding what I can do to support not just my program, but give a better perspective for other programs. Because I do see other teams that completely outplay us, but I also know that they work them to the bone. I know that they have a
Mhm.
lot of extra time. I know that my campus is specifically meant for students who have unique opportunities outside of their schooling.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's my goal.
That's very
Just be a little
noble.
bit more nice. That's probably the best way to say it. Um, that's my closing statement. Anything you want to add? Any shout outs?
No, I was to United Rocks for introducing rock climbing to children and youth with intellectual and development disabilities. That's not esports related, but I'm just super happy. I guess like I like working with people that make life easier for other people. That's just me.
No, that's awesome. No, that's super important. Any program that supports that, only any of those types of initiatives is so important. Anything
Cool.
to shed light.
How about
So
you?
let me go
Any
ahead and
positive?
me.
Anything for you? Yeah.
Oh God. Just all my friends. I want to support them, give them a shout out. I want to let my team know that I'm proud of them. They've done awesome work, even though they've gone through a rough
Woo!
part. They'll get through this. They're gonna compete. They're gonna go to Oregon. They're gonna have an awesome time. win-loss draw, they're gonna have an experience that most people don't get to have.
Yeah.
So that's what I want them to focus on. So
Cool.
I'm going to
Well,
go ahead and close this out here. So I'd like to thank everyone for joining us this week, and I'd like to thank DX, my co-host here. We want to thank our partners too, ESTV, NFL Alumni, and GameHers. Without their support, we would not be able to bring our weekly show to you. We also want to thank our producer, Nick, of course. Thank you, Nick.
woo-hoo.
Our moderators, Catherine and Bayou. Bayou, congratulations on the new job. And
Yay.
Catherine, you've been an awesome leader for our group. To stay tuned, to stay updated on upcoming topics and what we're working on next, go ahead and follow our socials. We are staying up to date on all of those. Thank you, Catherine and Bayou, on those. And Nick, I don't know if Nick does it, but thank you, Nick. You can find us everywhere on Esports CCP. Next Friday, we will be talking with an ex-professional gamer, an ex-coach, Mark the Shark. I'm gonna butcher this word. Her last name, oh God. I'm not
Spell
gonna
it.
butcher his name. Arismendez.
There we go.
Okay, about his experience in the esports scene. That would be awesome. Have a great weekend. Stay warm, everyone. Play some games, and see
Yeah,
everyone
have
next
some fun.
Friday.
All
All
right.
right, everyone. Peace.
Peace out.